Gold Digger starts on Tuesday.
I just had that song in my head the entire time when watching this as well.
On BBC One, and it is the story of a woman who, on her 60th birthday, having split up from having her husband leave her and settle in with another woman, she goes for a birthday visit round a museum, as everyone will do on their birthday, I presume.
Well, I suppose the thing is, she's got 3 grown-up children, all of whom she's booked a meal at a posh restaurant, and they all abandon her for one reason or another. So she decides instead to, because she doesn't live in London, does she? She's travelled especially into London for this meal that all her children then abandon her. So she looks around this museum
and happens to bump into a young guy who, for some reason or another, and it passed me by, they end up sort of dating, and then it is the show is about the repercussions of an older woman introducing a younger man into the family, and the children of that family, who, as Matt says, are all grown up and got their own lives, how they view him. Is he the gold digger of the title, or does he genuinely love their mother? So, I have been saying for a long time that the BBC doesn't make human dramas anymore. They're all about the big ones. And why don't we make sort of homegrown dramas about people anymore? And then Gold Digger arrives, and I found it completely insufferable and couldn't wait for it to end. I think it's one of the worst things I've seen the BBC do in a while. Matt, what about you?
Explain why. Use your words.
I found the kids so irritating that I just wanted to smother them. I didn't believe in the relationship between the woman and the guy. Just felt so clunky and a mess. There's some lines of dialogue which, yes, I should have written down, but I thought was so awful. I just didn't like it at all. I just wanted it to end. I just really, really disliked it. And it did. Although I keep saying it didn't. Why don't we make these human dramas about people? It didn't have any humanity in it. The people were all so wooden. Oh,
what do you mean by human dramas, though, Luke?
Well, you know, okay, so a good example of that would be Last Tango in Halifax. I'm not that bothered about an elderly couple reuniting and falling in love again. It's not the sort of thing that I would ultimately go for. But there's so much humanity in Derek Jacobi and Anne Reid, and their connection feels so believable. And then you've got Sarah Lancashire and Nicola Walker on the other side, with their lives and how they all end.
No, I get that.
This is
It does feel now, and I think this is a problem in all media, that they're thinking about who can we sell this to next. And I think we've said this many a time. I think the one difference, and I know you disagree with this, is Years and Years. I thought that had this. If you just stuck with it, you know, I bought into the family dynamics in that, despite the sort of, you know, the look towards the future, it still felt like the family at the start. And I think maybe Anne Reid is the connection there. But I think here, it reminded me most, and I know you stuck with this more than I did, of Mother, Father, Son. You know, we've swept in a big international star in Julia Ormond, who was a big name in the 90s.
I didn't know her at all. I looked her up and I still didn't know her.
I mean, she had quite a few big roles. The sort of mid-90s films. She was the star of the remake of Sabrina alongside Harrison Ford and Greg Kinnear, and she was also in the First Night, the King Arthur thing with Sean Connery, and I think Richard Gere actually were drawing that comparison. But here, I mean, of everyone, I suppose she was the most intriguing character, but I think it was all, as you say, I would agree with clunky. They do meet, they have this connection, you know, I think she thinks it's a one night stand. I think it's Ben Barnes, who, you know, was on screens 10 years ago as Prince Caspian. He was also in Stardust. But he playing a rather bland sort of, I think he's a copywriter. The clunkiest moment for me is when early on after their night together, they go shopping and she buys him a watch, and the camera really focuses in on, oh look, she's spending a lot of money on buying him a watch. Is he a gold? The title should be Gold Digger ?
Yeah. I mean, like lawyer.
Sorry, I mean, and he really reminds me. The actor is Sebastian Armistead. He really reminds me a bit of the son in Mother, Father, Son. This sort of overworked, character. I mean, he's in this
I can
marriage.
really see the parallels now. You brought it up.
Jemima Rooper, who I thought was fine.
She's always
really
fine.
Didn't give her a lot to do. And then the youngest son didn't look like anyone in the family at all. That really annoyed me. The better actors, like Alex Jennings, for example, I don't know if he, looking at the sort of trailer for the second episode, if he's got a lot more to do there, because it's sort of him coming towards, meeting the Ben character for the first time, and we had a bit of Julie Mackenzie as well as her former mother-in-law. And we didn't mention Luke Special. The flash forward to a year forward where she's driving away from her wedding wearing a wedding dress. Another parallel to the end of the effing world.
Who'd have thought these shows had so much in common? It's a shame because the premise is intriguing to me, almost in the sort of Dr. Foster-esque intrigue and things, but the way it's done, the way it's written, the performances, they're all so wooden. I mean, Julia Ormond, I just kept thinking, how good would it have been if Leslie Manville's mum character was in this scenario?
Yeah.
She's so warm and lovely, and you'd hate to think of her being taken advantage of. Here, I couldn't give two hoots.
No,
what
she's very cold and distant, wasn't she?
Everybody is.
Her children were cold and distant, and you could understand why if they've been brought up by her. And it's a shame as well because this is the follow-up to 13 from Marnie Dickens, which again was quite a human drama. We were drawn in there by Jodie Comer and her performance. I mean, there were clunky bits in that with the investigation, but she had a central character who you really cared for in a heightened premise, more heightened than this. That was believable. And I mean, I don't know if this is just first episode nerves, but we got like the flash forward, which I had no interest in whatsoever. Apart from that scene where she buys him a watch, there's no suggestion that he is interested in anything other than her. I think the insinuation is, if this was an older man and a younger woman, you wouldn't have an issue with it at all, but they don't make a big deal of that, really.
So at the early point when we met the kids, I made a prediction. I actually wrote it down on my notepad on the computer, and I said,
you put it in an envelope. And
I sort of said, at some point during this, the older kids are gonna say, our mother's having more sex than we are, because I just thought that's the sort of line of dialogue you'd expect them to say. And about the 45-minute mark, Jemima Roper turns to her annoying brother and goes, Rupert, sorry, yeah. She turns to him and goes, our mother's getting laid more often than we are. I thought, that's exactly what I thought you'd say. There's a really clunkiness when the two worlds collide, because she says to the younger son, she says to all three of them, I've got some news for you. And he says, oh, you're not dying, are you? I mean,
and actually, you say that about the line. I had a similar prediction that he would think that he was their waiter when he first came over to the table.
Yeah. I tell you what, I mean, I may cut this out because only you and I live in this world where we have semi-vivid memories of older shows gone by. But it reminded me of one of the first shows we ever talked about, which was Leaving, which was a very similar premise where Helen McCroy of Peaky Blinders and, funnily enough, Mother, Father, Son, worked in a hotel with this young lad. They sort of have a passionate affair.
Oh yeah, he started at the hotel, didn't he?
Callum Turner of the Capture. They work in this hotel, and it's about their relationship and the fallout from when the family discovers the affair. So it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, because here she's a divorcee, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be together here. Whereas in Leaving, she was in a relationship, she was a family woman in that, so it's a little bit different, but it's that sort.
I liked Leaving for what it was and for what it tried to do, because I liked Helen McCrory. To a degree, I must have liked Callum Turner, although.
Who played the husband in that? Because I think you liked that relationship.
Well known. I can't remember who it was.
You liked that relationship and the fact that there was, he wasn't, an
he wasn't
abusive
an awful
husband.
Man, no.
He just sort of, over time, sort of neglected her, taken her for advantage maybe a little bit, whereas here it's all like, the husband has left Julia Ormond for one of her friends. You know, it's Nikki Amuka Bird, isn't it, from Luther, who's playing the new woman of her ex-husband. There was a very clunky scene between them as well. I think the problem is that they didn't make the Ben Barnes character interesting enough for you to care about whether he is manipulating her. You know, there wasn't that ambiguity there to his motivation. You know what I mean? It's sort of, he was written so bland. The only suspicion you got was that first scene where she's driving away from the wedding really upset. You know, there's nothing to suggest that he has any ulterior motives.
No, and I would almost be happier with it being spoon-fed to me, him on the phone going, "You'll never guess who I met," or "You'll never get," something like that, so we know as an audience exactly who he is, and that so he's playing this dull person to.
There's not enough drama. There's not enough drama in this drama.
It's so boring. It's relentlessly boring, and I have no desire to watch any more of that at all.
It does feel it's in this sort of this BBC sort of pre-Christmas slot, you know, because they know these dramas are going to be running up against I'm a Celeb in a week or so, that they pop on things which they don't really believe in. We always get a sort of drama like this. There was that Post drama a couple of years ago set in the World War that neither of us watched, and it feels, because this has been on the slate for a while now, I think.
What a shame though. Gold Digger, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock on BBC One.